Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Monday, April 15th. It's tax day, or maybe not. I mean, they move it to like the 16th, the 17th. It's around tax day. But welcome to a new week, new show. In the middle of just starting the baseball season. Basketball season. Regular season is over. We still got NHL for another week. Hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. You know how much I like those. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Since it's Monday, you know what we do on Mondays. We bring in James Mccool. It's Mondays with Mccool. James Mccool, the co-author with me on the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. 15-hour DFS masterclass you could pick up at theoryofdfs.com. James, let me ask you, how excited are you for it to be the end of the NBA regular season?
God, it's a beautiful day. No, I mean, like, some people get really excited about like their birthday. Some people get really excited about Christmas. I just get stoked for the end of the regular season NBA season. It's a holiday to me. I order Chinese food and I just sit there and do nothing. It's a beautiful thing.
Did you see yesterday? Did you see the Boban clip from yesterday?
I did. Yeah, Boban's the best, man. He's got to be. He should get contracts through his like age 50-year-old season just to hang out in the locker room and just like be a dude and just hold the vibes. Because I cannot imagine. He's got to be the best locker room guy on the planet, right?
But just the clip of like, it's like what's going on with Boban? So the clip is, so apparently he's on the Rockets. They're playing in Los Angeles against the Clippers, right? And he used to be on the Clippers.
Yeah.
Right. So apparently there was some promotion from whatever local chain chicken place or something where if the opposing team misses if someone misses 2 free throws from the opposing team, the entire arena gets free chicken.
Yeah.
And obviously Boban isn't that great of a free throw shooter to begin with. And he also doesn't play that much. Right. But he happened to be 4 minutes at the end of the game. He misses the first free throw, and the crowd goes crazy because they're trying to tell Boban to miss the free because they want the free chicken. And then you see him point and go, no, I know what's going on. I got you. I got you guys. Right? And he throws up the free throw, gives the whole crowd free chicken. The announcers are going nuts. I would rank that clip this weekend up with the Holloway Gagey, the end of that fight. I don't know if you saw the UFC stuff. Mm-hmm. We had UFC 300, obviously, DFS betting, everything like that on Saturday. I didn't get all the way there. I didn't have a bad slate, but not great or anything. Mm-hmm. But James, did you see? I don't know if you paid attention to the UFC card, but Max Holloway was winning the fight, like on the cards easily, 4 rounds. And then at the end, with 25 seconds left, since it's the BMF title, the baddest MRFer, he just pointed at the center. And the only way for Justin Gaethje to really win is to knock Max Holloway out, which no one has ever done anyway.
Right.
And Max Holloway said, nope, I'm not going to coast to a victory. Let's just get to the center and just swing at each other.
Just go for it.
And let's go for it. And then he ends up knocking out Justin Gaethje with 1 second left.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it should go when it comes to fights like that. It's like, this is what the people want to see. Let's just go for it. Let's just go toe to toe. I wish there was more of that kind of stuff. I understand why there's not, but man, that's how a fight should end.
And then in the main event, James, Alex Pereira gets kicked in the nuts. Doesn't even look at Herb Dean, the referee, just puts his hand up and says, "Nope, I'm good." And then 2 seconds later just knocks out Jamal Hill.
There's good things about UFC.
That card went to like 1:30 in the morning. I understand, James, why you weren't up to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm deep sleep at 1:30 in the morning. I am dreaming about UFC at that point. But sometimes I wish I could watch it. Sometimes I wish I could hang out because I think it's super fun. But man, it's too late for me. Too late.
So at the end of the regular season for NBA, we're going to get into the playoffs, as someone that doesn't watch the games, doesn't watch. I'm a ball not knower, right? I don't watch the games. It feels like the NBA playoffs lasts forever.
It does.
Right? It seems. What round are they in? What games are they on? When does this thing ever end? NHL is similar to me. When does this thing ever end? How do you adjust? Obviously, we're going to have DFS contests for basketball. Obviously, there's props and pick 'em available for NBA. Is the only thing that is different in the playoffs versus the regular season that there aren't shenanigans, quote unquote shenanigans, where like the starters are going to play 40 minutes. Like it's like there's not going to be 3 people on the injury report, and who knows? Does Luka feel like playing today, or does Giannis feel like playing? Like they're just going to play. The reason why there's all the shenanigans during regular season is that so they're rested so that they could play 40 plus minutes during the playoffs, or is that does that or do teams sometimes just still have 11-man rotations?
Some teams will still have a longer bench, but most of it is the starters play increased minutes. So you see a shorter rotation. There are some coaches that maintain a longer rotation, but that's kind of, that's this nuance, a lot of it. Coaching stuff does matter quite a bit more in the playoffs. You'll see there are some coaches that are really, really good playoff coaches, like Eric Spoelstra is incredible. It's why the Heat can never really be counted out in the East, because they have one of the better coaching advantages in the East. Whereas like the coach for the Celtics is just a chud. Like he has no idea what he's doing. And the Celtics just have to rely on brute forcing their way past teams. Same thing with Doc Rivers. Like Doc Rivers is literally a negative in the playoffs. He's one of the worst coaches that we've seen in the playoffs in like, I don't know, the last decade. Just tragically bad. And that's one of the reasons why the Bucks look worse right now, outside of obviously the Giannis injury. But like the Bucks going into this with Doc Rivers in the playoffs, it's like he couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag. He never makes halftime adjustments. He doesn't make in-series adjustments, whereas somebody like Spoelstra is going to be able to make in-series adjustments and halftime adjustments against what a team is doing. So coaching stuff matters a lot. And then, you end up seeing that there's certain calls that are not made, that they'll let them play in the playoffs, right? Refs are a little bit more lenient with calls in the playoffs as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. Basically what it comes down to is you really start to see the raw talent of players shine, and especially the raw talent of the stars, which is why I always talk about, with the Knicks, it's hard to take the Knicks seriously as a title contender because they likely won't have the best player on the floor in any of their matchups. Like Brunson is good. He is good, but he's not going to be the best player on the floor against Celtics. He won't be the best player on the floor against the Bucks if Giannis is healthy. Maybe he's the same level as Lillard now, but like that's where it gets tough is you have to have the best player on the floor. And it's one of the reasons why the Nuggets are always really, really good in the playoffs because it's hard to beat Jokic. The Lakers are always really, really good because it's hard to beat Anthony Davis and / LeBron James, who turns it up in the playoffs too. So there's a lot of it. A lot of nuance comes into the playoffs. And I do think that that's kind of where understanding those kind of nuances and knowing ball or whatever comes into play. I think you see that more in the playoffs.
Well, let's talk about what it affects us the most when it comes to daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em. The difference between the regular season and the playoffs. And obviously, we have playoff content all throughout. I mean, like, we don't end. Here at RotoGrinders, the show goes on. NHL, even NHL playoffs. We'll have projections for that as well. So you should join and get a subscription to RotoGrinders, especially the combo premium package. You get everything. I mean, pretty much you get everything, right? You get MMA stuff. I don't know. MMA, it's going to be off this coming week. But all the cards for that, we got baseball, obviously, forever. Right? Get it all. We have a running deal. 6 months. 6 months subscription, get $250 off. That's like 2 free months, essentially. That's better than picking and choosing and everything like that. So for 6 months, get everything that you could possibly need. The link is in the description. If you want to just try us out for 3 days, it's $19.99. So, if you want to play baseball the next couple of days, NHL, I guess, when the playoffs start for NBA. You want to try our projections, our Pick'em tool, our premium content, our Plate IQ tool for MLB, Sim Labs. We got Sim Labs for NBA, for PGA, for MLB. You could use that. It's very easy to build DFS lineups with Sim Labs. So try us out for 3 days, $19.99, or click on that link in the description. Get 6 months off combo premium, $250 off. Why the hell not? So the difference in daily fantasy props and pick'em. Maybe I'll cover more of the props and pick'em side, since that's like 90% of what I do now. But on the DFS side, we're going to have these playoff slates. They're going to be shorter slates, typically. You may only have 2 games on the slate. In the beginning, you may have 4 games on the slate. And then we'll also get down to like showdown slates for NBA. It'll be way more popular. Once we get to the conference finals and the finals, like the big contests are going to be showdowns. What is the biggest difference from a DFS strategy perspective? Because it's stuff that we talk about in the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, which you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com, that people should get used to that may not be as pertainable to the regular season.
You gotta kind of be okay with getting duped. It just gets really tough, especially when you get into the conference finals. Like when you're dealing with showdown in the playoffs, the reason why showdown is profitable in the regular season is because you can rely on bench players that are typically unowned, right? Like if you can identify bench players and rotational guys in showdown for the regular season in NBA, you can get a really nice edge. And I've said for a while now that I think that NBA Showdown is probably one of the softer showdowns that you can play at this point, just because the ownership is really, really high. It's easily projectable. And if you nail the rotation players, then you can have a really nice profitable slate. You don't get to deal with the rotational players as much when you get into the playoffs. So you really do end up being in a position where you just have to be more accepting of duplications. And you're still aiming for, as we always say, you want to aim for less than 10, less than 20 dupes when you're playing showdown. That's kind of the sweet spot where you can maintain a little bit of floor while also eating up some ceiling. But you just got to be more okay with getting duped a little bit more. And I think that also goes for the 2-game slates. The one thing that I will say for 2-game slates, that while it is different for the playoffs, but also kind of a similar strategy to the regular season, is focusing almost entirely on one game rather than the other game, and just hoping that game is the one that goes longer, right? Or hoping for playoffs or overtime or whatever it is, right? That is an edge that I think is especially strong in the playoffs, simply because you do end up getting such a larger payoff from your starters that are going to be playing. If a game goes into overtime in the playoffs, you could see starters from one game playing upwards of 10 more minutes than starters from another game, right? So I think that's kind of a really important thing to do in the playoffs. But outside of that, just understand that ownership is going to be higher, and you're less reliant on rotational players to end up finding your ceiling.
And the thing about the rotational players or the bench players, you'll often see in showdown contests in the playoffs where the winning lineup has a 0 from the cheapest. Like you're literally taking a player that will only play maybe in a blowout, but because they're 1K, they allow you to jam in 5 studs in the rest of your lineup. And because the production is so condensed in the playoffs, that there may be 4 guys in the game that all score 55, 60 fantasy points. And there's no way to get all 4 or 5 of them into your lineup without a 0, without a 1K player that is obviously not going to play. A lot of times, the cheapest player that actually projects for any minutes is like 2,800 or something like that, where if you put him in, you have to play the 7K guy instead of the $9,200 guy. But so much of the production in playoffs is condensed to very few people. That don't be afraid. You wouldn't do it probably in Classic. Take the 0 with the 3K minimum player. Because there are ways to, because you on a Classic slate you have twice. At least it's 2 games. So you have 4 teams, right? But in one game, like, you don't have many options. So you will see quite often, more often than you'd think, more often than you would. This is a better way of putting it. More often than most people would consider doing it, right? Most people look and go, why the hell would I take someone that's literally projected for 0 minutes?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that you can get, it's the only way you can get Durant and Booker and Giannis into your lineup at the same time. Like there's no other way to do it. And those are the people that you look and you go, oh, at the end of the game, one guy has 35 real life points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 blocks. The other guy has 28 real life points, 8 assists, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, and you're like all these other guys, the role players, are like 14 minutes, and they have like 18 fantasy points, and it's like, yeah, it's not going to really get you anywhere. So really focus on the guys that are going to play a lot of minutes, and you may in Showdown even sacrifice one guy. And then the other popular thing, I want to say popular thing, but contrarian popular thing to do is you literally build a lineup as if one team blows out the other team.
Yes.
So basically you're playing the studs on one side of the game. So you may play like 2 or 3, 4 guys from like Team A, and then 2 bench players from Team B that you would expect, because they would be really cheap to play the entire fourth quarter if the rotation just went out that way because the other team's up by 30 points. Like, that's another way of kind of getting different. Especially that's true in the 2-game slates, where essentially you're playing one game to be competitive to the end, and you're hoping that the other game blows out. And it's like that one player that you take from, because you have to take 3 teams. Mm-hmm. So the one player you take from the second game is the player that is like the second team guy. Like, a lot of times it's like the second team point guard or something. Like the guy that will come in with 2 minutes to go in the third. And then if the game is blown out by, the 7-minute mark of the, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, probably just stays on the court all the way to the end. So he's the guy that ends up playing 28 minutes when we projected him only for 18. Like, you're playing that type of guy. So think of those types of things, especially in the larger field contests, where if you just I'm going to plug in, all the most reliable people that are going to play the most minutes, and you look, and the lowest owned player in your lineup is 28% owned. And it's like, probably if I win this large field GPP, I'm going to chop this like 160 ways. And that's not it feels nice at the time, but when it's $100K to first and your payout is like $2,200, if that's your bink for the year, you're probably not going to have a profitable year.
Yeah, you're dead. Yeah. I try to say that to people all the time.
Is there anything?
No, go for it.
Like, you try to say that to people all the time, that winning $2,200 is horrible.
Yeah. And they never listen to me. They're just like, oh, well, it'd be really nice to have $2,200. Like, yeah, but you will play through that the rest of the year. I guarantee you're not going to take that $2,200 and then just stop playing DFS for the year and be like, oh, yep, I won a contest, $2,200 profit. Like, that they should. They don't. So when you dupe 160 ways in a contest and you win $2,200, you have to think of like, how much more am I going to play? And if this is the only bink that I have for the entire year, am I going to be profitable? The answer is probably not. The answer is almost 100% not. So,
well, it's the same type of mindset that James is the same type of mindset, like with people that do SGPs that have like 50% hold in it, even though it's an 8-leg SGP. And you look at their SGP payout, and it's like, yeah, it's $10 to win 3,600 or something like that. And I'm like, the actual true value of this is like $8,000. It's like, yeah, but I'm happy with 3,600. It's like, well, the more $10 SGPs you make like this, the more and more you're going to lose. Like, you'll feel good on one day where I won $3,600, but you were down 12,000 at that point because you're wasting your money all the way through. So that's the whole thing about DFS, daily fantasy props and pick'em, is still all about expected value.
Yep.
All about probability versus payout. So in the playoffs, one thing in NBA that you're used to maybe doing with props and pick'em, it's even more important now to get the best number and get the best price early. Early. Like if you're betting the NBA playoffs, the early bird gets the word. I would suffice. I know this probably is bad for business for RotoGrinders. I would suffice that if you're watching our show right now, you're watching me in the morning by 11 in the morning, and you haven't placed an NBA bet yet, don't even bother for the rest of the day. Just like you're already too late. The reason why in the regular season, James, that NBA is a pain in the ass even for props is because there's 74 million people on the injury report, and people, at 5:30 decide that they don't feel like playing. Like that type of stuff happens. So the information asymmetry happens at all different points in the day. We find out at 1:00 this guy isn't playing. Okay, lines have to move. So now there's a way to get edge, right? 5:00 this thing happens. We're not going to really have that during the playoffs, right? There may be, is Giannis going to play game one, right? Like maybe it's a game time decision. Maybe we get once in a while one of those. But for the most part, you could look at tomorrow's games and go, well, yeah, I know who's going to be playing, and they're all going to be playing, 40 minutes. So when those lines come up, when you go on DraftKings or FanDuel and you see the player prop lines come up, if you go on PrizePicks or Underdog and they have the lines, the fantasy point lines come up, like what information is going to come out, right? If the lines go up at 6 in the morning, let's say, like what information is going to be coming out at 2 in the afternoon that is going to necessarily change any of those lines? The lines may be shaped by sharper action, right? That the opener at 6 in the morning for this assist prop was too low, and it's over 4.5 at -110, and now by 11 in the morning it's now over 5.5 at -140. Like there's no edge left there. You need to get it early, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have this information asymmetry throughout the day as much that you do in the regular season. So my advice is, if you're doing NBA props, if you're doing NBA pick'em, get it early or essentially don't. It's going to be much more unlikely that by 4:00, 5:00 in the afternoon that there's going to be that anything's going to be off.
Get it early or play DFS.
Right, yeah, there you go. Right, DFS, it doesn't matter because salaries don't move, right? Oh. Imagine that if salaries moved, then you'd want to build your lineups as early as possible.
Right, yeah. Just treat it. I mean, with NBA playoffs, you're treating it like MLB betting. And you want to get it as early as possible so that you can maintain the large edge that you have, because things aren't going to change all that much. We do have situations like Giannis is very much in doubt for game one, right? So we're assuming him out, but by game 2, by game 3, he's going to be questionable. He's going to be Q. So those situations, maybe you have a little bit of leeway when it comes to betting on Bucks. But outside of that, man, you're not going to get very many. These guys they're ready to go for the playoffs. They're mostly healthy. You just got to get that in early, or play DFS, or play Pick 6 if it's in your area,
right?
Because Pick 6 lines
also, James, you have to realize that it's the playoffs. The series everyone knows the schedule for the series. Some of the lines that you may be looking at, there's going to be a day apart for some of these games that if let's say you're looking at props at 5:00, 6:00 the night of a game. It's likely that those lines came out a day and a half ago, because
right.
It's not like they came out in the morning, because they came out when the other game ended like 2 days ago. So you're now looking at stuff like from an adverse selection standpoint that people have been staring at. Sharp bettors especially have been staring at for 36 hours, 40 hours. Like, dude, if that thing, if whatever's up there has been looked at by so many eyes, that the likelihood of that being like off enough for you to profit is going to be so much smaller.
Yeah.
Getting it early. It doesn't have to be early. Like when people ask me, well, is this time good? Is that time? There's no right time. As early as possible. That you could do you have to stay up at 2 a.m. if lines come? Like, you'll always get into a situation where openers come out and you're not available to look at the exact opener, and you're looking at a line that's 3 hours old. If that's the earliest that you can, that's fine. But understand that 3 hours before that, you may have gotten an extra 5 cents on the price. The price may still be good for you. I mean, you may be looking at a prop that is minus 120 and it opened at minus 115. And you still show it based on our projections to still have a 12% edge. Like, that's still profitable. It would have been more profitable 2 hours ago if you got it at minus 115 rather than minus 120. But you don't want to 2 days from now, it may be minus 145 and there's nothing. Right? Minus 145, minus 150, or it moves up a point and it's minus 115. And you're looking and you're going, wow, I wish I would have gotten this 20 hours ago. Like, that's too late. So you want to get it as early as you can get it. There's some days, James, in baseball where I get overnights, right? Overnights meaning that, props from, like today, like it's Sunday. But the thing about Sundays is that a lot of the games on Sundays end early, right? Because it's Sunday. So the lines come out even earlier then. But sometimes, depending on the teams, you may not even have props up for certain games. I'm not sitting here and waiting. I'm never sleeping and going, okay, out of the 12 games today, strikeout props are only up and pitching props are only up for 9 of them or 8 of them. I'm not going to sleep until the other games. Like, dude, I'll never sleep then. So you know what I do? I sleep and I wake up in the morning. And whenever I wake up, if it's 9 o'clock, I look. It's quite possible that those lines came out an hour after I fell asleep the night before. Yep. So I look at them compared to projections. If there's an edge there, I take it. But I know that at 3 a.m, probably would have gotten a little bit better price, a little bit of a better number. But it doesn't mean it's not profitable. If it still shows an edge, that's fine. But you're going to get more of it the closer you are to as early as you could do it. So for me, my advice for the NBA playoffs is don't try to be extreme about it. It's like, when do these, I need to be staring at an odd screen all day. But it's more of me. If you're waiting until Grinders Live the day of a playoff slate to figure out what props to bet on, and there hasn't been any new information, it's probably too late. What you should have been doing is subscribing to RotoGrinders. If you don't get the combo premium, you get the props and pick'em package. And look at our prop model. You should be looking at the prop model early, 8 a.m, right? So before you go to work or whatever, look at that prop model, see what's available, and bet those. Use the pick'em lines. We'll use our pick'em tool for Prize Picks and Underdog. If you're waiting until Grinders Live to see, what Dean likes tonight, like the lines have really already been shaped. At that point, you're just asking kind of like, what do you think will happen? But is there value on the lines? Probably not. At best, it's break even.
Yeah, and that's when you just play DFS, and you'll be fine.
Right, DFS props early, DFS late. That's kind of what it is.
Yep.
But you'll have a playoffs projections also, right? A pay dirt.
Oh yeah. I'll have player level projections, and then also I'll have game models and series odds and everything like that. I have a really strong number from American Numbers, who does a really, really good job. So gonna have all of that over at paydirdfs.com, and obviously you can find me on paydirt at paydirt_DFS.
And if you want to learn more about how to play daily fantasy at an expert level, all the fundamental game theory concepts of DFS, Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, 15-hour audio DFS masterclass, as well as the Advanced Players Guide, which includes 10 more audio chapters and the custom Excel tools that I still use to this day. If I'm playing MLB today, if I'm playing NHL tomorrow, right? I build a whole ton of lineups, right? I can build 300, 600, 900 lineups, and I use a lot of the tools that James has developed for me and for you to find the lineups that have a higher projection than their ownership, to simulate against one another. So if you want to do that, go to theoryofdfs.com and pick that up today. Obviously hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door. I like the thummy thumbs. Give me those thummy. I'm gonna wave them at you. I'm kind of like playing a video game here. Oh, James, is it just because the regular season's done? I'm assuming. This may be a bad stereotype. Is esports more of a winter sport because it's indoors, or is it more of a summer sport because that's when kids get out of school? Are those two really bad stereotypes? Are those really, like, I'm basically saying that these are like 12-year-old nerds that play esports. So it's either they don't get out much, or they're they're in school. I'm basically saying that these are middle schoolers. So you have to wait for the summer when school's let out for vacation.
Yeah, those are really bad stereotypes. So no, esports goes year round. We have 3 splits for League of Legends. We have a spring split, a summer split, and the world splits. It's winter, summer, and worlds for the European ones. But yeah, we have 3 splits. We're actually in an off season right now, going into an off season for the next couple of weeks before we have the MSI, which is mid-season invitational, which is kind of like World Series of baseball, right? But Counter-Strike, we have year-round, never stops. We have major tournaments that happen throughout the year, but then there's also smaller ones and online qualifiers and stuff like that happen throughout the year. So Counter-Strike will continue. League of Legends on a little bit of hiatus. Call of Duty is dead in the water right now, which is unfortunate because there's a bug in the game that is making it so there are no counting stats. Which is a problem.
What the hell? What? Hold on. I was trying to get us out of here. With me in esports.
Yeah.
So it's imagine if you told me that in that they had to stop playing baseball games.
Yeah.
Because there was a bug that made it that pitchers could randomly throw 135 miles an hour. Or that some batters would go to the plate with aluminum bats, and the walls would if you hit her into a certain spot in the outfield, it would guarantee that all fielders would freeze, and you would have an inside the park home run.
Yeah,
that's video game. That's video game stuff.
That's kind of what's happening here. So they play games regularly, right? But we rely on the in-game stats feed to tell us what the stats are, right? Otherwise, an intern at DraftKings would have to watch every single game and count up every single stat by hand, and that would take days. So,
hold on. So the bug is just in the feed provider to DraftKings. You made it out. I thought there was a bug in the game. In the video.
It's in the feed provider overall. It is in the game. So the game relies on something called spectator mode, which allows you to see the stats of every single player individually and count up the stats of every player individually. That bug is broken, or there's a bug in that system. So casters and the in-game API cannot translate what is happening in the game. So casters have no idea to be able to talk about what stats are happening in game, and we can't have the stats feed to give us stats to count up for DFS.
But the games are happening fairly.
The games are happening fairly, but we can't score them.
Okay, that's not as exciting. The way that you made that there's a bug. I thought Call of Duty, the whole league and everyone playing it, they all had to stop playing because there was a literal bug in the game that was making it unfair, that no one can play the game.
No. People are still playing the game.
It's a feed provider. It's just the feed for the stats, and that's why you can't play DFS on it. Right. But they're still playing. All the little kids are playing the Call of Duty and making $5 million.
Yeah, they're
hitting the A button.
Yeah. In the Call of Duty League is an American league, so they can't be less than 18 years old. So.
Oh, really? That's a thing?
Yeah. That is a thing.
Is that the reason why the US is so far behind in esports?
One of the reasons, yeah, because kids in like in Europe,
like an 18, like the way that you put it, an 18-year-old in esports is like a 45. It's like a 45-year-old pitcher in baseball.
No. Here's the best analogy. In Europe, kids can be drafted out of high school. In America, they have to go through their entire college year. It's the difference between if LeBron was able to be drafted out of high school or if he had to play through his entire college career.
Yeah, but for this, we have to shift it all back to like elementary school and middle school.
Sure. Yeah. And kids in middle school will then go and like literally in Sweden, Counter-Strike players, if they're good enough, they just like stop going to school before high school and then just play Counter-Strike. I mean, these kids are like in amateur leagues starting at 13, starting at like 12, 13 years old. Same thing in China and in Korea for League of Legends. Like these kids, they'll start playing that there's amateurs in the Pro-Am League that are like 13, 14 years old. And then they'll go into the pros when they're 16.
Right. And once you hit 20, you're the old man.
You're getting there. Yeah, you're literally getting there. Once you hit 24, it's like, how are you still in this league? Go over into the North American leagues and retire.
Right. So basically the US esports leagues are like how Messi came to MLS.
Yes, that is exactly right. And like Zibandon. Yeah. Like literally they come over because they can no longer play in the Premier Leagues and then they just retire in the MLS. That's exactly what happens.
Why don't we go over and play with the dumb Americans, the dumb old Americans?
That is exactly what happens. Yeah.
Is that the bug in the game?
Well, it's an exploit, that's for sure.
Right. So basically, James, your opinion is that we should be allowing kids to become professional esports players at 12.
Yeah.
Right. So you're basically pro child labor. Just want to be clear.
Yeah, you could say that in this instance. Yes. I mean, we already do it for kid movie stars, right? We might as well do it for esports.
Oh, that's right. True. That absolutely is right. And you know those kid movie stars, they always turn out to be great when they get older. Right?
They are so well adjusted. I mean, just look at JoJo Siwa, right? I mean, so well adjusted right now. So well adjusted.
Right. We want more of that. Okay. So follow James on Twitter, paydirt_DFS or paydirtdfs.com. As always, I'm in the Discord. I have my own channel there. If you ever want to talk to me, Blender's Game Theory is open. Just post in there and I reply. So join our Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. That is free. Most of the channels there are free. So if you want to join, go do that. But obviously, we're running that special 6 months of combo premium for RotoGrinders, $250 off. So go click on the description link. Use it for the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, MLB, PGA, MMA, everything you want, all you can eat. And I'll see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow Tim's on, but we'll be talking baseball. Okay, Tim has said he's done. He doesn't care. It's the last week of the NHL season. It's the last week that no one cares anymore. So basically, it's going to be like the last week of the NBA season. So we're going to talk baseball tomorrow. Thursday we'll talk when Taylor comes on. We'll do NHL. He doesn't mind. But we'll have Tim on tomorrow for MLB. We got obviously Grinders Live later today for the big baseball slate tonight, followed by Crunch Time. Check out the weather. Obviously, always tune into Crunch Time to make sure you hear Kevin Roth's weather updates. He does it on Twitter, but he goes into a lot more detail on Crunch Time. That should be a must listen before the DFS slate. And I'll see you tomorrow talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props and picking on RotoGrinders Today.